Hello, Facebook community. Question for you. How many of you measure yourself in business or personally against where you want to be versus where you've been? This is a teaching called Gap versus Gain. It was actually originally developed by a guy named Dan Sullivan. He's a business consulting coach. I think he's in his late 70s. He's been coaching business owners for decades. And then it was popularized when he co-authored a book with a prominent PhD psychologist, and they wrote a book called The Gap versus the Gain. And the whole point is with the gap versus gain is that you measure yourself against where you started, not against some future ideal. When you're in the gap, you're constantly looking at, this is where I am, but this is where I want to be. You do that with yourself. You do that with your business. This is where we are, but this is where I wish we could be. You're constantly in the gap between the present and the ideal. This is where I am. This is where I want to be with my kids. I wish they were more mature with my marriage, whatever it might be. You're constantly living in the gap. It's very difficult to stay happy, motivated, and effective when you're living in the gap. When you live in the gain, you measure yourself against where you've been. And you say, look at the gains we've made. Look at the gains our marriage has made in the last 10 years. Look at the gains I have made as a leader in the last year, 5 years, this week. What are 3 gains I can make tomorrow? You're constantly measuring yourself against where you've been. So as we come to the end of the year, this is a really powerful practice for you to do as a business owner with your team. And so we've done this with Limitless. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. I'm holding a gimbal, so forgive me if this gets a little weird. I'm trying to show you our whiteboard here at Limitless HQ. So I built this whole mountain timeline here, and this is the gain. So as I look forward to my future, I want to look back, and it all started actually in March of 2020. I started selling roofs with Miller. My dream at the time was to sell roofs and own my own roofing company. And so I started selling roofs, started experiencing some good early success, selling some big roofs here in Dallas through relationships, family network, and stuff like that. And then, being the entrepreneurial guy that I am, had the idea of starting a podcast. We launched a Limitless podcast in 2020. Then we figured some stuff out, went to the first RoofCon conference. Thought we were going to start doing something like along the lines of review management and lead generation for roofing companies. Oh man, is roofing ever saturated with those kinds of services? And then we really dug down and thought, what are we good at? What do we love? We started roofing CEO groups in 2021. Then we got into EOS and training and stuff like that. Then we started the business model for a group purchasing organization, a buying group for roofers. August, we were on Dimitri's show. In December of 2021, we got a contract with SRS signed with SRS Distribution as our supplier partner. The GPO, the buying group, went live in January. Then we were on Dimitri's show. We launched a group healthcare program that took months to negotiate in August of 2022. In October of 2022, I got to speak on stage at the One Industry, One Model event. I used to do public speaking, and I'd been hoping and praying that door of opportunity would get open in the world of roofing, and it did. That was huge. In November of 2022, I got to be on the main stage at RoofCon because my friend Hunter invited me to be on the leadership panel, and all these things are happening. So as we look ahead, we want to look back. And then when you plan for the future, of course, you still have goals, you still have dreams, you still have a vision. Living in the gap versus the gain doesn't mean you don't have goals and you don't have vision, you don't plan. You do, but that's not the ultimate benchmark for success and for counting wins. You count the wins based on what you've done so far. This is a much better way to live. I can't get enough of this stuff, and I can't wait to really start practicing it in earnest with my family, with my girls, who are 7, 5, and 2, and focus on how far they've come versus where they could be, and speak to that, show them, hey, look how well you did that. Look at the win there. In business, focusing on the wins that you've made, the wins your salespeople have made, the wins your operations people have made, focusing on the wins you have made as a leader. I want to challenge you to go back just over the last year. Right now, get out a journal, pull up a Google Doc, whatever works for you, and just go make a bullet point list of all of the gains of the last year for you personally as a leader, and also in your business, and even failures and mistakes. What did you gain from that? And you can do this over your entire past, all the different chapters and seasons of your past. Even hard seasons, you have the opportunity to reframe those and think, what did I gain from that I've carried with me? It's a powerful thing. I want to encourage you guys with that this week. It's really got Miller and I at Limitless fired up. We're really excited about this stuff and just wanted to share it with you guys. This truly will remove the limits on your thinking, especially if you're frustrated with where you're at in business right now. You need to really get yourself out of the gap thinking of where you could be constantly and look back over where you've been. Make a list today of the gains over the last year. And then even at the end of each day, make a list of 3 things that you gained that day. And even think about maybe 3 things that you want to gain tomorrow. Start counting the wins, being thankful, and even chart a timeline. You'll be so glad you did. I hope this helps you live in the gain and get out of thinking constantly in the gap. All right, guys, Dylan McCabe, Limitless Buying Group, and I'll catch you online.